Hi, I'm Debo Adebayo. I'm the producer and music editor of Stars. I'm representing the Stars collective of Mojisola Adebayo, Candice Perwin and Tyler Friedman. Stars is part of the Berlinale Film Festival in the Forum Expanded section.
Nommo! Once we were two. Once two was one. A duo in solo, the Nommo, both female and male, of land and of sea. From Potolo came the Nommo of Sirius B. Beings of twin, fish-like body persons, with feet and fins, scales and skin, covered in all colors, desert rain chameleons. This is a tale of tales.
Hello and welcome to the 39th Teddy Award. My name is Jan-Felix Wuttig and today I'm here with producer Debo Adebayo to talk about his film Stars. Debo, thank you so much for being here and taking the time.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Yeah. And thank you so much for the film. Stars is an amazing film. It's 7 minutes long, but it's so complex, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the film itself, could you maybe tell us a little bit about the Stars Collective, because that's how you made the film. There's not just one director, the whole collective sort of has made this film.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. So the four of us that made the film were Mojisola Adebayo, she was the writer and performer in the piece, or the narrator. Candice Perwin, who's the animation artist, and Tyler Friedman, who was the sound recordist, and myself as producer and also the music editor. So I kind of mixed the music together that you hear in the piece.
Yeah. Beautiful. Could you maybe tell us a little bit how the idea for the film came to you?
Yeah, well, the film is actually, the origin of the film comes from a play called Stars, which premiered in London in 2023. The play features a lot of Candice's animation, and the music that I selected and mixed together, and obviously Moji's words. So everything that you see in the film is actually featured at some point within the production, but just not in the form at which we now have it in this short film. And so that was really the origin of how the film came about. When we were doing the production, we always knew that at some point there was going to be some kind of video film element to it. We didn't quite know what that was. And so there was a bit of a journey between Moj, Candice and myself saying, you know, kind of what do we really want to do? How could we really boil down this 80-minute play into, you know, 5, 10, 7 minutes? Which is kind of really, really difficult to do with a play such as Stars, but it talks about so many different things and so many different themes. But in the play, you have a young girl called Mariam, and she befriends the protagonist in the play called Mrs. And it's really Mariam that tells Mrs. about the Nommo. Mariam is like fascinated by the stars and the planets, and then she's also fascinated. She discovers about the Nommos and the Dogon tribe and their beliefs. And so there's this kind of two or three segments in the play with that animation where it really talks about the Nommo and talks about the other things that we see in the film. And so through a kind of process of collaboration and kind of talking with each other, we kind of really discovered that actually these parts of the play really sit well together in a short form, and the film was kind of really the best way to kind of platform that story of the Nommo.
Was the idea behind adapting the play simply to sort of condense it into a different medium, or was it, I guess my question is, what was it about the medium of film that spoke to you in giving the play a different form?
Yeah, I guess it kind of came really naturally. It really did. I think because there's so much animation in it, we knew that, you know, it could really translate well to the screen, or to the big screen, or to the small screen. And I guess as theatre makers, what we often do is we don't necessarily say that's the form or that's the art form that we want to use. We kind of go, well, with what we've got, the music and the animation and the words and the poetry, what really best serves that?
Yeah.
And so we kind of said, oh, actually, a short film would really best serve this all together, to be able to kind of really share the message of the Nommo and all of those beautiful sci-fi Afrofuturistic things that you see in the film, with the music and of course with the animation. So yeah, it really came naturally in just kind of asking us that question, kind of what is the best form for this story and for all the other elements within the film.
Yeah. Now, the film itself, and I mean, at this point we're talking as much about the film basically as about the play, but it combines ancestral mythology, colonial history, and gender politics.
Yeah.
That was sort of my idea when I watched it. Could you tell me what you meant to achieve by combining these factors?
Yeah, well, that's really the magic of Mogisela, really, in her storytelling. I think really what it boils down to is really representing what Moj will often call the edge of the edge. And so, you know, Moj is an Afro-queer artist herself, but is really interested in championing those that are still underrepresented within the Afro-queer community. And so within Stars, you hear and discover about, in a kind of indirect way, intersex communities as well. So the I in LGBTQI, which is often dropped off and often forgotten. And so what Moj is really passionate about is, okay, who's representing them? In the Afro community, you know, in some Afro communities, there's a bit of a scar in a community around FGM, which is highlighted within the film itself. And what we're really trying to do is, like, who is representing them? Who is really speaking for them? Who is really being an activist for them? And so with all of those themes, what Moj really discovered through thinking about space travel as well, and thinking about what do kind of the African ancestors, what was their view on space? And how can we challenge the stereotypes that pre-colonial times that Africans were primitive? Like, what stories out there can really prove and dismantle that?
Yeah.
And so with all of these things kind of bubbling away, Moj discovered and had probably heard about, and I had heard about a little bit about the Dogon tribe and their beliefs, and how they discovered this tiny planet or star called Sirius B, which could not be seen by the naked eyes. But somehow they knew about this tiny planet way before Western scientists were able to discover it. And so that kind of proved, in a way, that this African tribe knew about the cosmos. They knew about the universe. They discovered this star before anybody else, before the instruments were invented to be able to see the star. And so it kind of really challenges those tropes as well. And through that story of the Nommo, coming to Earth, sent by Amma, and who wanted to mount Mother Earth, the Dogon believe, in their kind of mythological religious belief, that the Nommos were sent to Earth to protect the world. But through that story, there's such beauty in that story, and there's such mythology, and there's like the Afro-futuristic elements, what we then also discover is kind of the origins of where FGM came from, and circumcision in itself, and that actually the Dogons didn't quite like the way in which they looked, these Nommos. They were too fleshy and amphibious, and you couldn't really tell they were androgynous. You couldn't really tell if they were male or female, and in that binary form. And so I guess that's where the kind of the intersex story really kind of translates into this Nommo story. And that's kind of where the film kind of ends on that note. It kind of talks about going back to the stars,
Very much so,
before you know the circumcision and that kind of really hard binary form was implemented. So there's like there's so much in there within this kind of very short film.
Yes. I was gonna touch on that because I felt like you know, this is obviously a tale. It's also a poem, but in the end, when the line is, and some of us want to go home, and it becomes this sort of activist voice, and that's just a beautiful note to end on. I felt.
Agreed. And you know, for me, it's like, what does that mean for the viewer? Like, some of us want to go home. Like, what does that actually mean? What does that mean to you? What does it mean to anybody else? And you know, I think as well, for me, it's like thinking about the cosmos and what came before, and that, you know, what's happened in the past and in the present doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing. And it's not the right thing. And so, you know, when we think about home, I guess for me, I'm thinking about what does home mean for me, and what does it mean for the communities in which we're really championing as well. And so, it's a lovely way to kind of just end the film. And it also links back again to the theatre production as well, because Mariam in the play is actually the person who's telling the story. So we kind of shifted that in when we put it into the short film. And I don't want to give away the production too much because it is coming back, so you can watch it next year, or this year even. But you know, it's her journey as well, and she's saying, I want to go. You know, I want to go back to the stars. You know, I want to go. For her, that's where home is, because she's trying to remove herself from Earth, where the trauma lives, and you know, where can she go to escape that? You know, she loves the stars, so it must be in the stars.
You know, the film is kind of told through so many ways and so many devices, but the music and sound being one of them. Could you maybe say what role music and sound played in the production of the film?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what I wanted to do was, like, the film has kind of two main parts to it, kind of an A and a B, really. And in the A, it's about the kind of Afro-futuristic Nommo story, which is I guess, depending on what you believe, is a true story, a true tale. And I wanted to choose a piece of music that really represented that kind of early percussion-led type like music, which might have been being played at that time, you know, lots of drumming and so on, but also something that kind of looked to the future. So it had this kind of rolling bass line, and lots of kind of like hard hits that, for me, also kind of, the first time I heard it, I just wanted to dance. Like, I just wanted to go out, and I'd be like, I could play this if I was clubbing or something like that. But actually, it was really cool because it had this real Afro feel to it that kind of spoke to the film as well, and to the script. I guess that's why I always start. I start with the script and kind of what are the kind of emotive elements that I'm kind of getting from that, and what track might best appeal to that. And that's Baram's Little Silver, and then we go into Wound by Arca, and I guess I was trying to like smoothly transition from one track to the other, but the two tracks are quite vastly different. You know,
Yeah.
you've got something that's very percussive to something that is very visceral and very cinematic with lots of strings and kind of quite haunting vocal.
Yeah.
And that kind of bittersweet track really spoke to the tragedy, I guess, within the film itself, because you know it is a beautiful tragedy, the film, and so I wanted to choose something that still had the beauty within it, but still had this sense of maybe a sense of sadness and a sense of haunting as well, and so that's why it plays out and kind of plays out very, very, very quietly.
Yeah. I think that really translates really well on the screen, because you have that.
Thank you.
Well, not that switch, but that kind of development where simply, I mean, of course, you cannot disconnect what you see from what you hear, really. But I find through the music, you kind of get that feeling of, okay, now we see sort of the, you know, the other side of the coin, or some mystery revealed, or something sinister, sort of, like a little, you know, a little side stream that's coming in that's not as beautiful as what came beforehand.
Yeah.
And that was really, that amazed me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Debo, I want to thank you again for taking the time and being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Already it from me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting us here. It's a real honour, and I speak for everybody, like Modge, Candice, myself, Tyler, and the whole Stars Collective who made the film. You know, we're really chuffed that we're here. And,
it's our pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
Really.
Great.
Thank you again, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the festival.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.